Okay, Anne, feel free to start whenever you would like.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We are calling the Northwest Suburbs Cable Communications Commission together or to order this morning at 7:30. And following Mike Johnson's declaration and determination that in-person meetings are impractical because of the health pandemic, we are meeting virtually. So we will get rolling. Could we take roll call, please?
Sure. Daryl Sanis.
I'm here.
Hassett Pamar.
I'm here.
Ann Norris.
I'm here.
Therese Kaiser. Therese.
Here.
Roger Bergman.
Here.
Phil Leith.
Here.
Kirk McDonald.
Here.
Mark Schultz.
Here.
Riley Grams.
Here.
Bill Blonigan.
Here.
George Selman.
Here.
Absent Mike Elliott. Andy Hoff, Al Matson, Emily Kastner, and Jim Willis.
Here.
Emily's on this.
Oh, Emily got here? Okay. I will mark
Really,
her.
Sandberg is here too.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda, which are the approval of the minutes from the May 20th meeting and the treasurer's report, both of which were included in your packet. Is there a motion for the consent agenda items?
I move approval of the consent agenda items. Bill Blonigan.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Second, George Selman.
Thanks, George. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Oh, we have to do roll call, don't we?
Yes.
I know, sorry, I forget. How quickly we forget.
Okay. Daryl Sanis.
Aye.
Hassett Pamar.
Oh, here. Sorry, I'm here.
Ann Norris.
Aye.
Therese Kaiser.
Aye.
Kimberly Sandberg.
Aye.
Roger Bergman.
Aye.
Phil Leith.
Aye.
Kirk McDonald.
Aye.
Mark Schultz.
Aye.
Riley Grams.
Aye.
Emily Kastner.
Aye.
Bill Blonigan.
Yes.
George Selman.
Yes.
Thank you. Consent agenda is approved as presented. Next up under action items, we have our 2020 audit report. And Mike, I'm going to turn this over to you to give some background or introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. We went through a competitive bidding process the last go around. We typically go out for audit services in terms of bidding out for services every 3 years. And for many, many years, we had Abdo, Ike, and Myers as our auditor. And recently, when we did a bidding process for the 2020, 2021, and 22 audits, the audit firm of KDV Bergen won the bid, and they did and conducted our 2020 audit. And so Andrew Grice will be making his official audit presentation here in a moment. One of the things that I spelled out in my memorandum is a common deficiency that is found in smaller organizations is something called lack of segregation of accounting duties. And what that means is especially with small staffs, in fact, the number of our cities who are represented here oftentimes have this, this is not a material audit finding or anything like that. It is just a comment in the communications letter for something to look out for in terms of when you have small organizations and being able, and although this is even, Andrew Grice told me this has even happened at very large organizations. Minneapolis Public Schools may be even one of them. But I will say that we have a very robust checks and balance system with double checking and sometimes triple checking each other's work. And we're always looking at ways to keep the segregation of duties. This is actually the first time this is ever mentioned, within our audit report. We pretty much have been doing things for the most part the same way, but we are always looking at ways to tighten things up. So I just wanted to say that, prior to Andy beginning his report here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I need to go over and find Andy, and then give Andy the co-host ability, which I'm doing right now. So I want to introduce Andrew Grice with the KDV Bergen Audit Firm, and Andy, take it away.
You're muted, Andy.
Oh, Andy, I think you're muted.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Well, thank you very much for having me here this morning. Thank you to the board and to the commission and to Mike for the introduction. Here to present the audit results for the year ended December 31st, 2020. To start things off, we do like to take a look at our independent auditors reports. And this is a good way to start in terms of laying out what management's responsibility is as it relates to the financial statements and our responsibility as your auditor. It is management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements. So they cut the checks, make payroll, take in all of the receipts, and get that information recorded onto the general ledger of the commission. And it's our job as your auditor to come in, test, examine, look at the underlying documentation to support the numbers and disclosures in your financial statements, and ultimately give an opinion on those financial statements. When it comes to that opinion, I'm happy to report that we are issuing a clean or an unmodified opinion, which is the best that we can give as your auditor. And what that means is that the financial results is a true and accurate presentation of the financial position of the commission at the end of the year in all material respects. The Office of the State Auditor also requires us to report on Minnesota legal compliance. They have issued Minnesota legal compliance guides that outline certain legal statutes that we have to consider and evaluate whether the commission complied with those statutes. That includes conflicts of interest, contracts and bidding, claims and disbursements, and some other miscellaneous provisions. Happy to report that there were no findings related to Minnesota compliance for this year. Mike also noted that we had the one internal control finding related to lack of segregation of accounting duties. That is a new finding this year, and I believe it's a condition that had existed in the past. However, we did report that as a significant deficiency. That is a mid-level finding. The most severe internal control finding is a material weakness. The only qualification at the significant deficiency level is our judgment as your auditor to determine whether it warrants attention by the governing body. And we do believe that it is important for you to be aware of that condition. And it's, as Mike mentioned, it's not unusual of an organization of this size, but it's something that I think it needs to be monitored and for you to be aware of. Moving on to the financial analysis part of our presentation this morning, that's included in the communications letter. And we're going to start with the look at the budget to actual results for the commission, starting with the commission here. And this is a good way to outline the board's responsibility as it relates to the financial statements, and that's adopting and monitoring the budget. And the budget for this year for the Cable Communications Commission called for revenues of just under $5 million, expenditures of $608,000, and anticipated a surplus there of about $4.3 million, and anticipated transfers out to the Community Access Corporation of $4.6 million. And the budget called for a decrease in fund balance of about $284,000 for the year. When we look at actual results, actual revenues came in at just over $5 million, or $113,000 better than anticipated. And that was a result of a Comcast settlement that was received during the year. So that made up the majority of that variance. And then on the expenditure side, expenditures were consistent with budgeted amounts. And when we look at the other financing uses, or the transfers out to the Community Access Corporation, that came in at just under $3.9 million, or $3,888,000. And that resulted in a surplus for the year for the Community Cable Communications Commission of about $602,000, increasing fund balance to just over $6.5 million for the year. Now, when we look at the budget to actual results for the Community Access Corporation, this is where the the majority of the operating expenses occur. The budget here were expenses of about $4.6 million and to remain a flat in terms of the net position for the year. And what occurred were revenues of about $100,000. Revenues aren't budgeted in this fund. And expenditures came in at just under $3.9 million, or about a $746,000 variance. And we'll spend a little time talking about that variance in expenditures being under budget. A lot of that related to the effects of the pandemic. When we look at the details behind that, there was about $612,000 that were under budget as a result of paying less salaries and downsizing of operations. Contractual services were also under budget by about $96,000. Depreciation, amortization, and the other category was over budget by about $106,000 because depreciation is not a budgeted item. And then information and promotion was under budget by about $58,000 due to less advertising expenditures than anticipated. And then also office supplies were under budget due to less activity in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. So those were the details behind that variance. The results of the year of operations in this fund for the year resulted in that surplus of about $109,000, which brought the negative net position to $1,947,000. One thing that's important to note here when you're looking at net position in this fund is that this is the one fund of the commission that is full accrual. So we have to recognize all long-term assets and all long-term liabilities here. And the majority of that deficit net position relates to pension and OPEB related liabilities. It's been consistent in the past that the commission has really looked at transferring over dollars that relate to current operations. These long-term out liabilities related to pensions and OPEB are not liabilities that you have to cut a check for. You just have to maintain current contributions so that deficit net position is not unusual. Going on to take a look at the revenues for the commission. This is both the Community Access Corporation and the Cable Communications Commission. This gives you a 5-year history of budget to actual revenues. And you can see here that the actual revenues have decreased each of the last 5 years, with 2020 ending at $5.1 million. And when we take a look at the expenditure side, there's also, excuse me here, it looks like that piece is missing from the slide here. But when we look at budget to actual expenditures, also seeing a decrease over that same time period consistent with the revenue amounts. When we look at the makeup of the expenditures from 2019 to 2020, there was a little bit of a shift there because of the Comcast settlement. So in 2020, the other category was just over 4.7%, with about a majority of revenues being in that franchise fee at 75% and access fee at about 20%, compared to 2019, where that other category was just over 2.8%, with the other pieces remaining in proportion with the prior year, consistent with the prior year. When we take a look at revenue and the makeup of that revenue over the last 5 years compared to total revenue, the access fee has represented about 22% from 2016 to 2019 and dropped slightly here in 2020 to about 19% of total revenues. Franchise fees have decreased each of the last 4 years here since 2017, ending the year in 2020 at about 74% of total revenues. And that's a high-level summary here of the financial results and our audit reports that we wanted to present to you today. And next, I'd just like to open it up for any questions.
Thanks, Andy. Are there questions for Andy?
So, Madam Chair, Bill.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
2 questions. Number 1, I understand what the green line in the last graph was. And then number 2, in our job to be the big brothers, big sisters of the employees as members of the board of directors, how would we individually contact you if we ever had questions about the budget or what's going on as far as the budget with the employees?
All I can speak to, that green line here, I brought that back up. That is total revenue. It's a little bit exaggerated with the way the accesses are presented here, but obviously seeing a drop in revenues here from 2016 to 2020. And so that's the majority of why you're seeing that big drop there over that time period. And then at least on my end, also wanted to provide my contact information here. So if there's any questions, concerns, happy to answer any of those questions. So please feel free to reach out.
So that, if we contact you, that doesn't change the price of the audit. Oops, the contact went away. That
Sorry
doesn't,
about that.
that doesn't change the price of the audit. I mean, if there's a reasonable amount of questions, that's in the bill already. Is that right?
Absolutely not. Yep. All throughout the year, we're happy to answer any questions, give you any additional perspective that you might want during the year. That is all included in the price.
Thanks for letting me ask questions.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Andy. Other questions?
I have one. And
Mike,
this
do you have
is-
any other? Go ahead.
This is Kimberly. I just had a quick question about the segregation of accounting duties piece. So I think in the communications letter, it was mentioned that some changes have already been made and that we're monitoring it. Can you elaborate, maybe Mike, or I'm not sure if this is a Mike or an Andy question, but about what changes have been made and any other changes you're planning to make to address that?
Yeah, I thank you, Commissioner. We are, the changes that we made, we have, I think I spelled out in my initial memorandum, we have like a 5-page, what's it called officially here? Let me get my memorandum here. It's not on here. Let me, I have to take Andy off as co-host here for a second. Give me 1 second here. And then I will call up my screen. There we go. So in this memo, we talked about you know, our robust check and balance system, and basically similar to like the city of Robbinsdale. One of the things that we did is have a better system with looking at journal entries back and forth, the ones that Wendy puts together. So that was added to our internal controls procedure, which that and just making sure everything is double and triple checked has, I think, made a significant improvement since we added that. So can I say for sure that this won't be mentioned, you know, in the future audits? I cannot say that 100%. All I can say is unless we add, I mean, as the auditor pointed out in his statement, you know, if you add more staff, you may not, you know, that could be an issue too. Like, if you want to add more staff to that, to the accounting department, and is it, you know, worth it to do that? All I can say is that, you know, we're doing, you know, our best with a very small team of basically, you know, people who work on multiple things and doing checks and balances with that. So, but like I said, the journal entries is probably the biggest one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion to accept the 2020 audit report?
Member Blonigan, I move to accept the 2020 audit report.
Thanks, Bill. Is there a second?
Schultz, second.
Thank you, Mark. Further discussion? Wendy, can you do roll call, please?
Daryl Sanis,
Aye.
Bassett Pramar,
Aye.
Ann Norris,
Aye.
Therese Kaiser,
Aye.
Kimberly Sandberg,
Aye.
Roger Bergman,
Aye.
Bill Leaf,
Aye.
Kirk McDonald,
Aye.
Mark Schultz,
Aye.
Riley Grams.
Aye.
Emily Kastner,
Aye.
Bill Blonigan,
Aye.
George Selman.
Yes.
Thank you. The audit is accepted. Thank you, Andy. Thanks,
Yeah,
Mike.
thank you,
Thanks,
and-
staff, for all your work on that.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate all the help with the audit procedures. It was a joy to work with you, and Thank you to the commission and to the board.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Mike, I bet you're taking away the next one. Mike Johnson, the proposed 2022 budget.
Yes, Madam Chair, you have in your packet a pretty thick packet for the 2022 NWSCC, so the Cable Commission budget and the CCX Media budget, which we will talk about in more detail, obviously, with our meeting that follows the CCX meeting. But again, you'll see within here, let me go forward. We have a table of contents of all the various things as part of our budget packet, the mission, vision, and 10-year targets, our compensation goals, revenue and expense outlook, cable subscriber count, revenue chart, and projections, and all the various budgets and notes that go along with it. I'm not going to read our mission or vision. It's all there. We will be making a few minor corrections on grammar on one of the top lines within that, as Bill Blonigan had pointed out to us prior to the start of the meeting. And then these are the 10-year targets to build a strong organization, with the fact that, as you know, a couple of years ago, we looked at a strategic plan for long-term sustainability and making this group sustainable for the long term, and looking at alternative options for bringing in revenue. We always put in our compensation goals that you see there. And again, I won't take the time to read through all of these. We pretty much have these things in here all the time. Of course, one of the things I always like to point out is that, we also want to stay in compliance with the Minnesota Pay Equity Act, and happy to report that the last go around, and in fact, all the time, I think we have always been in compliance with the Pay Equity Act. So that has always been good. I do want to point out a couple things on the revenue and expense outlook. You will see a cable subscriber count graph. In fact, I'm going to show the graph here. And, this, since 2010, we've seen a downward trend in subscriber counts, as you see there. I can't really talk about specific numbers of subscribers, because there's certain things with the cable company that we're asked not to share. But the numbers, obviously, the trend line, as you've been seeing for several years, is going down. But if you look at our revenue here, it's not as sharp of a decrease as you would think, because of the downward trend of subscribers, because you would think that with the downward slide of the subscribers, you would see a similar type of more of a dramatic slide in terms of a decrease within the franchise fee and community TV fee. But it isn't as pronounced as losing the subscribers themselves. And a lot of that has to do with the fact of when the cable company implements price increases. We've been, talking about this for years, that although you can lose subscribers, but if they implement a price increase, which they did the last go around, it actually softens the blow of any subscriber decrease. So our revenue is actually in good shape, and that's actual revenue there. But on top of that, one of the things that Andy, our auditor, pointed out is that, we went through a very, it was a difficult process, but it was a process that needed to be done with a reorganization. So our bottom line balance number, and then we ended up underspending the budget significantly by doing the reorganization of staff and downsizing, and that has helped our overall bottom line. So we're doing very well in terms of our bottom line, and we're starting to see other money come in from other sources with various projects that we're doing. This is the actual spreadsheet itself. I know there's a lot of, it's not really good on a screen because the numbers are tiny, but a lot of you, or all of you, have this in a printed version. And so in terms of an overall revenue outlook and things look actually really good. I'm going to go back to this memorandum part. I just wanted to say that our overall expense which you will see within these budgets, the overall is just 2% entirely for the whole budget, and that is with a proposed 3% increase in the salary line. So let's move on to the budget here real quickly, and you will see that we did put in a 3% adjustment in salaries, and that also affects PERA and FICA. We did a survey, as we do every year, we did a survey of our 9 cities, and the ranges went from, at the low end was 2%, which was actually the city of Crystal, and that is only because they were locked into a 2-year agreement with their employment groups. But most of it ranged between 2.5 and a little over 3%. And so we're recommending 3% for our staff. Again, this will be talked about in our budget meeting, and of course, final approvals on anything won't happen until our November meeting. So we have time to discuss it further. But that's what's being proposed. No increase in health, and then you'll just see there's a lot of decreases that we put in there. Some things you'll see an increase, like for instance, our leased vehicles we're on a 3-year cycle for our leased vehicles. So there's always this upfront cost on leased vehicles. That's a one-time thing every 3 years. And then decreases throughout, you have to go here, oh, wrong way, there we go. You'll see more decreases than increases in things. And so we've done a really good job, I think, of bringing down regular operational expenses to the point of, considering that your salaries and para and FICA is really the biggest part of your budget. So we did a good job of bringing other expenses down. And then we have a capital budget of a proposed capital budget of about $423,000. There's all the notes associated. Again, I won't read through all these notes, but every budget line item has a note associated with it. And you can see that all there. And certainly if you have any questions on any of those items, you're certainly welcome to ask at any time, either during this meeting, or you can contact us anytime between now and the next meeting. There's the capital budgets broken out by various departments, creative services, our events department, IT, information technology, master control, news, and then you see the grand total there. This is all the details related to that. Again, all put in a spreadsheet format. And then the Cable Commission budget itself being proposed up there. Again, overall, a decrease, 2.35% in the Cable Commission budget. Some slight increases in the capital grant and city proportional grant funding. And then you see our building improvements. We're doing less this year than we were in other years. So this page here pretty much shows you the overall between the two budgets. And then when you look at the combined total, we're looking at about a 2% increase in the budget itself. And so, and again, there's notes related to the Cable Commission. There's our capital and some of the capital improvement things that we need to do to our building, which is owned by the Cable Commission, owns the building. And the building, for those of you who are newer members, the building has been paid for a very, very, very long time, thanks to some of the commissioners who were on. There's still a couple of them on today that negotiated a settlement with Gus Hauser of Hauser Communications, who owned this system at one point. And one of the stipulations was they had to pay off our building, and they did. And that put us in a great financial position for the future. So, but with that said, there's certainly things that you have to do to maintain and upkeep your building. And that you see some of the things there. We've done a lot of things related to energy, trying to, put more and more LED lighting in. Every time we replace an AC unit, or last year or the year before, we replaced our boiler. I mean, the energy savings is significant on how these new systems are designed. So we will see operational savings from all of those things. So that in itself is pretty much the budget, and I entertain any questions of anybody, both from CCX Media or the Cable Commission at this time.
Thanks, Mike. Are there questions for Mike?
This is Joni.
Yep, go ahead, Joni.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you about that leaning building or wall at the entrance and what that means. That sounds, for $5,000, a leaning wall sounds kind of serious.
Yeah, it's slowly, it's not quite the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy, but it's slowly, it's a retaining wall right next to where all the members of the public from Create come in. And if you go to that entrance, which is on the north side of our building, it's just slightly changing. And so our facilities expert, Jamie Anderson, who also does all of our technical work and building work, we walked around the building, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and we said, you know what, maybe it's time. Because I don't know if it's like one of these things, like every year it goes like, you know, 1/4 of an inch or something like that. It's, again, it's just a retaining wall. It's not anything with the regular part of the building. It's a retaining wall that needs to be, but it is, this particular wall is attached somehow to the building. So we want to take care of that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Otherwise, I assume we need a motion to refer this to the Executive Committee and the Budget Committee.
So moved, George.
Thanks, George. Is there a second?
I'll second, Riley.
Thanks, Riley. Further discussion to refer the budgets to the two committees? All right, Wendy, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Daryl Sanis,
Aye.
Hassett Parmar,
Aye.
Ann Norris,
Aye.
Therese Kaiser, Kimberly Sandberg,
Aye.
Roger Bergman,
Aye.
Phil Leith,
Aye.
Kirk McDonald,
Aye.
Mark Schultz,
Aye.
Riley Grahams,
Aye.
Emily Kastner,
Aye.
Jim Willis,
Aye.
Bill Blonigan,
Yes.
George Selman.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Next item is adding Juneteenth as a holiday for employees. Mike.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I will pull up this memorandum here. June 19th commemorates the day in 1865 when the last of the enslaved people in the United States received news of their freedom. As you know, Juneteenth is now a federal holiday. There are a couple of cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, who are now making this an official paid holiday, as is Hennepin County. We did do a survey of all of our cities, and many of them really are in the consideration process. The main reason we're bringing this forward is we're putting our holiday list together for next year. There are currently 12 paid holidays for staff, and the question is, you know, does the Cable Commission feel that we should, you know, add this to our list of holidays, keeping in mind other cities have not made decisions, or some of them may have. Again, I would have to get back to some of them, but there is a cost factor. I mean, to pay people to be off for organization wide, it's about $8,000. And then obviously, so there's the pay for the employees, and then obviously you would not have any production or productivity, you know, on that particular day. So this is something that, you know, we either can, you know, we wanted to just kind of get an opinion of the group as a whole. If you want us to bring this back to the Policies and Activities Committee to talk about, or put it on hold, or move forward with it. So really, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here and see, Madam Chair, this comments people may have.
Mark, I see you've got your hand up.
Yes, quick question. Is there any language in our current employee manual that references the term federal paid holidays regarding this type of a decision?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I think Commissioner Willis has, and I don't know if you see his hand.
Oh, sorry, I can't. Okay, thank you. Jim?
Thank you. Good morning. I would just assume we put this matter on hold for a couple of reasons. One, I'd like to see what other cities do. And secondly, in the government, the federal government, they're currently considering a voting rights bill, which includes in it a new holiday, federal holiday called Election Day. And so if that were adopted, we'd end up with about 14 days. And I think that perhaps is, a little bit more than might be warranted. The cost is another thing, as Dave, Mike just noted. So I just assume we put this on hold until next year.
Thanks, Jim. Other thoughts? Oh, Kirk.
I agree with Jim. New Hope has not made it a holiday for employees yet. We may consider it in the future, but I'm not ready to vote yes on this right now. I agree that we should put it on hold or refer it to a committee.
Thanks, Kirk. Mark?
Yeah, I agree with the other two. Seeing that we're a member organization of the 9 cities, I think we should really have some time to process how the 9 cities respond to this question. And I'm pretty certain that they're all going to be doing it relatively quickly.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments? Mike, do you want a motion on that, or do you have a good sense of what we're thinking?
Has her hand up, Ann.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, that's okay. Thank you. No, I was just going to say, I think it would be helpful to, and I know a couple of government entities were listed in the kind of memo about this, but I think it would be helpful to have a better sense of what member cities are doing and maybe kind of the broader context, because I believe Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, but different organizations are kind of observing it differently. So that would be helpful for me.
Madam Chair, I think this is good. And I don't know if we need a motion at this point. I think we'll just put it on the back burner for a bit and then see how things play out over this next year with our cities, and maybe revisit it later on in the year or the next go around when we go through our budget process, because again, there is a cost factor, and I mentioned that it being about $8,000, and Commissioner Willis brought something to my attention that I wasn't aware of yet, possibly another holiday. So it's something we should all be aware of at this point. So I guess I'm good at this point, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Bill, your hand is up.
Yes, so it probably will end up being a holiday. When you get to 13 holidays, it'll be 5% of all work time if you go on a 2,080-hour year. We'll have to discuss whether or not, like other holidays, if it happens on a Monday or it happens on June 19th. And it seems like if you're negotiating, Shannon's watching, so don't tell her I said this. It seems like you're negotiating with your employees with regard to their raises, that you don't just say, oh, we're going to give you something and not expect anything in return, at least for one year. So I think when we do, because I think we will eventually have this as a holiday, that should be part of the negotiations with the employees.
Thank you. Other comments? All right. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for weighing in on this. Mike, thanks for bringing it forward. We will monitor it, and I suspect, as you've all said, it will be coming back sooner rather than later. Next is information items. Mike Bradley.
Yes. Take it away, Mike.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Your favorite time of the meeting, the legal update. I do have a report in the information items that you can review. I'm not going to be really discussing what's in this particular legal update. I wanted to talk about two cases that were released during our summer break that are important to this organization. First is the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that this commission participated in. It was the review of the FCC's and the Court of Appeals did issue in that case. And I'm happy to tell you that there was a significant a ruling in favor of the cities. I just wanted to visit with you about primarily today. You may remember that the FCC had ruled that all non-cash franchise requirements considered franchise fees, and those non-cash franchise requirements paid at fair market value, and that could have a real negative impact on your commission cities out some of the non-cash franchise requirements that are in cable franchises. So think of the fiber and cable lines that go from each city hall to the cable commission for the playback of videos. Think of your cable channels and all of the associated franchise requirements related to the cable channels and the like. There was at least some kind of initial thinking that could be, 10% of your franchise fee could be those non-cash franchise requirements. So it's, it's a very critical piece of the commission and your member cities' revenue. So the commission participated in a large municipal group seeking review of that FCC decision. It ultimately went to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is kind of unusual. And I know I've visited with you about how it got there, but that's where it ended up. And the court ended up agreeing with the FCC that these non-cash franchise requirements could be part of the franchise fee, but very importantly, ruled that those non-cash franchise requirements are not to be valued at fair market value. They're to be valued at marginal cost. And there's a huge difference between marginal cost and I've been in situations across the country, here and in other states, where, for example, an institutional network line, the cable operator would argue that the fair market value of that line is $1,600 per feed per month. That's a huge cost. The marginal cost is practically nothing. And I would argue that in many instances, it is nothing. Because in many instances, these costs are completely recovered through various provisions of the Cable Act. So that decision to value the non-cash franchise requirements at marginal costs is a really significant victory for municipalities across the country, and your commission participated in that decision, and wanted to thank you for doing that. And I think there's real value to and your member cities as a result of that. Another issue that was resolved in the Sixth Circuit was how municipalities, advertising authorities can regulate non-cable services provided over a cable system. And the Sixth Circuit voted entirely with the cities on that. They said that to the extent that any regulation on non-cable services provided over a cable system is consistent with the Federal Cable Act, that cities do have the authority to regulate those non-cable services. We're still trying to wrap our heads exactly around what exactly that means, but we do think it's a very significant win. Now, unfortunately, one of the examples that the Sixth Circuit looked at was whether or not cities could charge a license fee on internet services, for example, provided over a cable system. There were cities in the state of Oregon that were doing that, and there was even an Oregon Supreme Court decision that affirmed their ability to do that. But the Sixth Circuit said that cities would be preempted from that type of a license fee on internet services because it was inconsistent with the Cable Act. So that's part of the reason why we're kind of looking at, okay, what does this mean exactly? We have authority over non-cable services to the extent it's consistent with the Federal Cable Act. Well, what is and what isn't consistent with the Federal Cable Act? So we'll be looking at those issues, and I'm sure we'll be discussing those in the months to come. But thank you again for participating in that effort. I think it was very, very worthwhile. There's still an opportunity to appeal that decision, and the appeal time to appeal to the United States Supreme Court is first, and we are still visiting with our clients about whether or not our municipal group should participate in that effort. I am, just so you know, admitted to practice before the United States Supreme Court. There was another case that is of interest related to cable television, and it was a case that was decided really just around the same time. It's a Sixth Circuit case, and it was a First Circuit Court of Appeals case that was determining whether or not a Maine law was preempted by the Federal Cable Act, and the FCC ruled, or excuse me, the First Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that it was not preempted by the Cable Act. And that Maine Act related to customer service provisions, specifically related to PEG access television requirements. So the state of Maine passed a law a couple of years ago that required all of the PEG channels to be at the basic on the basic service tier at those low channel numbers near the broadcast channels. So think about channel 9 and 11 and those types of channels. It's in that category. And so the state of Maine actually passed legislation saying it has to be on those channels. They also, the law also said that if the cities or the franchising authority is providing the access channel feed in high definition, it has to be provided over the cable system in high definition. And then finally, if the local franchising authority provides information for electronic programming guide information to the cable operator, that information has to be provided on the electronic programming guide. And the First Circuit said, yes, those are all valid customer service provisions that a state and the way I read it, a local franchising authority can require of their cable operator, and completely upheld it. The time to appeal that to the Supreme Court is also November 1st. So we have a lot of activity around November 1st. Some firm news for us. I think this was included in some of our previous legal memorandum, but we did hire a new attorney. Tu Zhang has joined our firm. So if you see Tu at one of your future meetings, you'll know why. Tu is really good young attorney. He's also a state representative of the legislature, and we're looking forward to having him on. He joined us at the beginning of August. And then just for me, I
Just so you know, I spoke nationally at the Alliance for Community Media in July. I spoke on closed captioning requirements for local governments for their access channels and their streaming services. I'll be speaking at the NATOA National Conference here next week. I'll be speaking on Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that we just talked about. I'll also be speaking at the Wisconsin Alliance for Community Media, again, talking about the recent cases and then also on closed captioning. And I'm guessing I'll be speaking at the MACTA conference, but I usually don't find out until about a week before the conference. So that's also in October. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Questions for Mike? All right, that brings us to communications.
Sure,
Mike?
Madam Chair. Yes, thank you. And I want to thank Mike Bradley. I think I did point out, I think this designation happened after our last meeting, but Mike has been recognized as a super lawyer. He won't be wearing a cape, but he was recognized as a super lawyer in his field. So we do have, in my view, because I've been in this business for over 40 years, that we do have one of the best lawyers. I know a lot of them nationwide. I've moderated panels with lawyers, which is interesting. And Mike was on a couple of those panels that I've moderated at national conferences. So we've got the best person for the job and looking out for our interests. So thank you. Really quickly, I am not going to go through all these communications items. They're all there because I want to have enough time for our other meeting. But I always provide the financial results for Comcast. And again, just in the second quarter alone, they brought in 28.5 billion. It's a big company. You can see that the main thing I just want to point out here is that the revenue on Xfinity and Comcast Business is really the biggest part of their three areas. And that's, you see the 16 billion in revenue. And of course, you all know they own NBC Universal and a European communications firm called Sky. So all the information is there. And then there's also a thing about Comcast getting involved with distribution of signals on a terrestrial, meaning like more landline, versus they're trying to save companies money from doing things via satellite. And then just quickly the struggle for folks to pay for high-speed internet and how it's broken out by a race and so forth and so on. And then you see how the Disney Channel and others are making money and growing, and Netflix as well. They're in so many houses all over. Just about everybody seems to have Netflix. And then Amazon is coming out with their own branded TV. I figured it was a matter of time. Amazon is everywhere. So now they'll have a TV that's branded with their name. And I'm sure built-in software that will take you right to all kinds of Amazon services, whether it's Amazon Prime. I'm sure you'll be able to order products and services with this branded TV. So Amazon seems to be everywhere. And that pretty much concludes the communications items.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions for Mike? Before we adjourn, I just want to express our condolences and send our thoughts to Al Madsen, who's suffering from the loss of his son unexpectedly. So I just want to acknowledge that at this meeting. Are there any other comments? Bill.
So if I wanted to send a sympathy card, and if the others wanted to send a sympathy card to Al and his family, could we send that to you, Mike, and then you having his address forward all of these cards, hopefully?
I can do that. I can certainly do that. Or if you want his address, I can do that as well. But yes, if you would like to send some, we are sending some flowers from our group for this funeral that's taking place on Saturday. And certainly, but yes, if you want to forward it to me, or if you want to send me a separate email and interested in getting, I don't think Al would have any issue if you, to share his address, because a couple commissioners have already asked for that. And so let me know, just send me a separate email if you want me to do that, or I can certainly just send it out to the whole group and we can go from there. So would that be preferable?
If
Bill?
you think Al's okay with, sharing his address, yeah, go for it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, do it individually.
Okay. Yeah, okay, just to be safe, why don't you, if anybody's interested, just send me a note. We can take it from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. Otherwise, is there anything else for any new business? Otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. McDonald.
McDonald, and that I think was Jim who seconded.
Correct.
Wendy, it seems absurd. We have to do roll call.
It's okay. Daryl Sanis,
Aye.
Asset Pramar,
Aye.
Ann Norris,
Aye.
Chris Kaiser,
Aye.
Kimberly Sandberg,
Aye.
Roger Bergman,
Aye.
Bill Leaf,
Aye.
Kirk McDonald,
Aye.
Mark Schultz,
Aye.
Riley Grahams. Is Riley still on?
Don't know.
Yes, aye. Sorry.
That's okay. Emily Kastner. Aye. Jim Willis,
Aye.
Bill Blonigan,
Yes.
George Selman.
Yes.
Great, we are adjourned. Thank you all. And now we're on to Marcia and the Board of Directors meeting.
You need a sec between? All right, good morning. With the recommendation of our executive director and pursuant to Minnesota statutes, there's been a determination that meeting by telephone or electronic means makes sense because of the health pandemic. And so that is what we are doing today. So the first thing is our roll call.
Okay. Ann Norris,
Here.
Cheryl Weiler,
Here.
Kirk McDonald,
Here.
Riley Grahams,
Here.
Emily Kastner,
Here.
Marcia Glick,
Here.
Mark Schultz,
Here.
Giannia Posner,
Here.
Joni Clausen,
Here.
Daryl Sanis,
Here.
Roberta Reindolf,
Here.
Mary LaHaye.
Here.
Absent is Dwayne Orn and Camille Epola.
And Al Madsen.
And Al Matson, sorry about that. Yes, Al Matson.
Okay, our next item are consent items, being the approval of the minutes and the treasurer's report. Unless anyone would like to pull those items, is there a motion to approve them?
Suzanne, I'll move approval.
I'll second. Schultz.
Okay, moved and approved. No discussion on this, so a roll call, please.
Ann Norris,
Yes, aye.
Cheryl Weiler. Aye. Kirk McDonald,
Aye.
Riley Grahams.
Aye.
Emily Kastner,
Aye.
Marcia Glick,
Aye.
Mark Schultz,
Aye.
Giannia Posner,
Aye.
Joni Clausen,
Aye.
Daryl Sanis,
Aye.
Roberta Reindorf,
Aye.
Mary LaHaye.
Aye.
Okay, our first action item is presentation of the proposed budgets. And we were all on the previous meeting where this presentation was made. Unless, Mike, you need to do anything, we would be just looking at a motion to refer to the executive committee and the budget committee.
That's exactly right. We will need a motion for that so it can go on to the, from both, obviously, we got it from the commission. Now we need that from the board.
So moved. Riley.
Second, Ann.
McDonald.
Okay, moved and seconded. I don't think we have any discussion, so roll call.
Ann Norris,
Aye.
Cheryl Weiler,
Aye.
Kirk McDonald,
Aye.
Riley Grahams.
Aye.
Emily Kastner,
Aye.
Marcia Glick,
Aye.
Mark Schultz,
Aye.
Giannia Posner,
Aye.
Jenny Clausen,
Aye.
Daryl Sanis,
Aye.
Roberta Reindorf,
Aye.
Mayor LaHaye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And our next is consideration of a report from our Diversity, Inclusion, Social Justice Ad Hoc Committee recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. We formed an ad hoc committee back in January. As you know, we've been updating the board on the progress of that as time went on. The committee put together and disseminated actually several surveys and to various stakeholder groups. And then we use this information to help us in setting up some goals. The overall goal is to build partnerships with cities, schools, nonprofit, faith, and business communities. We need to assist with overall messaging by being intentional in terms of more voices being heard from the Northwest suburbs. We did get some really good feedback within those surveys. And so you'll see some of the recommendations we have based on that. We had a great committee to work with, just absolutely. We had a lot of fun, and some of our members of that committee will be speaking for a few moments in just a moment or two. But our board commission members were Mike Elliott, Camille Hepola, Giannina Posner, and Roberta Reindorf. And Camille is no longer with the city of Brooklyn Park. She recently ended up getting a job with the Hennepin County, so she will no longer be on our board of directors and the commission. So I just wanted to, in fact, I think I sent you a note a while back when that became official in the summer. And of course, our staff members who are involved, and they're all on this Zoom meeting right now: Javier Cedillo, Dave Kaiser, Shannon Slatton, and Tamisha Toure, all did a great job with that. Here's some of the again, I'm not going to read through the survey data, but you can see that one of the key things is we wanted to kind of get a feeling of what people felt maybe we should be doing, and hearing from other members in the community. And the key part of this whole thing was trying to obtain contact people within the community who then we can go out to the next level and drill down and start having discussions on how we can do a better job. As you know, in our Create department, we've done an excellent job with bringing people of all cultural backgrounds into our studio to do programming. So we've been doing that for a long time, and many of you have mentioned that that we've done a great job doing that, and we're going to continue to do that. The other thing is we've also covered a lot of news stories. We're colorblind when it comes to doing news stories and those types of things. We do all kinds of stories and have for many years on whatever the story is of the day. But we feel we need to build maybe more connections deeper into the community and even hear more voices from various people who are represented within our cities. And we happen to have between Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park, we have more diversity within those cities than the city of Minneapolis does. We've got all this survey data that was from the Met Council, and so it's something that is very important. We want to make sure that that is reflected as much as possible within our coverage and things. So there you see, you can read through all the various survey responses and things, and then you see all the overall goals. Again, we need to reach out and work with some groups, identify those people within the surveys and talk to them. And then we will look at developing a workforce census reflecting. There's some, if everybody can mute their microphones, I hear some, I don't know if it's a sipping or something, but anyway, set up a stipend system to possibly pay individuals or groups when we want to work on specific targeted programming, ensure that our diverse population base is reflected within the content and messaging. This is one that was added later on in the process. I want to thank Emily Kastner from the city of Plymouth of making sure that, like, when we do promotional spots or anything, that the community as a whole of all backgrounds are featured within these spots. Use constant contact to update this. Tamisha, who is on our committee, mentioned that this would be a great way to keep all of our stakeholders informed of the progress we're making and continuing to reach out to people. We want to develop a community advisory committee to help generate news stories. Shannon is just really raring and ready to go on this particular item to bring together various voices from within the community and meet on we haven't figured out, like, how is it a monthly or every other month or whatever, in terms of trying to generate stories from key people in the community. Because again, it could be out of sight, out of mind. We cannot, with our small staff, we cannot be the eyes and ears of everything. So we're going to rely on others to bring story ideas to us. And then produce special segments in various languages. We talked about that, but we would need to hire professional translators and or signers when we do things like that. But maybe as an example, if we want to do a piece on snow plowing and in the cities and what the rules are with snow plowing and parking and all that, we can potentially do that in other languages. Janina Posner, who's on our committee, who will speak in a moment, she's fluent in speaking Spanish, and she's a community engagement person, a staff person with Three Rivers Parks, and she's already been doing things in different languages that are, well, for sure within Spanish, but that goes out to the Latino community, and this has already made a difference for Three Rivers Park District, and we want to make some differences here as well. And then offer some enhanced technical assistance within our Create infrastructure on occasion, where not everybody has the technical skills to do, really good video. And so we're looking at more of like a hybrid approach of somebody might have a great idea to do some segments and pieces, but they don't have the technical abilities and or even the time to go through all the training and to try to figure it all out. And we feel we could, bring community members together and help with that process. And then, explore options for maybe a citizen journalism academy, work for grants, look for grants in that area. There are grants out there for that type of thing. And then do some staff training, and then just prioritize all these goals and objectives. So again, I was very excited about a lot of the progress we made, but I want to give Janina Posner a moment to say a few words, and then Roberta Reindorf from our committee. Janina, will you say a few words about our committee, please?
Of course. Good morning, everyone. And first of all, I want to say Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I don't know if you know, that goes from September 15 to October 15. But well, first and foremost, I want to say to all of you how much I enjoy being in the community and get to know each other. We have spent a lot of time during the summer. I can't believe it. It's been since January, this conversation to this point. And, we connect, we converse, we collaborate. All of us are busy, but that tells you how important this is, that we took the time to meet twice a month and talk about things, because this is important. And the relationship, yes, we do want to build relationships with nonprofits, with schools, with organizations, with groups. But you know what? The relationship we built among us, for me, was so important. I feel that we heard our voices, we shared with each other, we were thinking, brainstorming, and all of that is so important. But we want to go and talk outside our organization. If they don't sense, if they don't feel like we are intentional about this, as Mike mentioned, we are intentional. And that's why we spend all these hours and all these times, and you can see the results as the recommendations. We don't know all the answers, but I tell you, we do want to create a place for people to come and tell their stories. And I think if I know that somebody took the time to think of me then I can go and share my story because I know they spend and they think of me. And I'm so grateful for the team. I got to know them and they feel so close to me. And now I can communicate that within my community. I can say, you know, I feel comfortable because my community trusts me. And they will go, oh, Janina, if you say I can share my story at CCX Media, they will know they can trust me. Therefore, they can trust you. So thank you so much. And again, we are just planting a seed. Now it's our jobs to pour water on that seed. But thank you so much. I can't wait to see what is coming out of all these recommendations. And this is just the beginning. It's so much to do. And thank you again. And, you know, let's take time to get to know each other. I know this is a screen, but when we have a relationship, it's much easier to share a story. Thank you.
That's nice.
And thank you, Janina. And then Roberta, would you like to wrap it up for us? Roberta's been at all of our meetings and she's wanted to say a few words.
I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to bring out our talent and our potentials and giftings. I think sometimes you wouldn't know what you can do until you put your thought on paper. And those are a collection of all talent and all giftings of all the group. And so I think we've accomplished something great. We are extremely satisfied with the progress we have made in our committee. We believe that we will achieve tangible results as we move forward in an intentional way. I like to stress the word intentional way in our community, especially now with what is going on with the COVID and with, you know, race issue and all the changes we are experiencing. And if we come out with something great like this, I think it's satisfying. It's satisfying to us and it will be satisfying to the community. They are already expressing anxiety. What is the next step? What is the next step? I think the next step is I can't just wait to get this started. And Mike, I'm very thankful for this opportunity that you have given us. And I'm thankful to the group as well. They trusted us and they listened to us, and Dave, Kaiser, all of them, Tamisha, everybody really, we came together and we have achieved something great. So I always say in the group, let's tap ourselves in the back and just be happy. You know, we did something amazing. So thank you, everybody.
That's all thank you, Roberta. Madam Chair, that's all I have. We just would like maybe to have support of this and or any other input from any of the members for this outreach project.
Well, certainly, and thank you to all the committee members and staff for taking on this important work and helping us to move forward in an intentional way. Anybody else? Mark?
Yeah, I just I want to echo some of the sentiments. It sounds like this committee did a great work and really did come up with some very creative and curious ideas. My one follow-up question is that clearly on a couple of the different things when we're talking about translator pay and other stipends, was some of this included potentially cost in the 2022 budget?
Yeah, we have a kind of a miscellaneous production expenses budget that could easily take care of that within that budget. So it's in there, and you know, depending on now if we do a lot of them, then that's a different story. Then we, you know, what we're thinking is maybe next year we would you know, try several for, again, if cities are interested, we'd try several, and if it becomes more and more popular, then we would, you know, have to adjust the budget at some point.
Thank you for that answer. I think that, you know, given the nature of this, if there's a way budgetarily for us to have a different line for it rather than miscellaneous production expense, might give a little bit more credibility to the effort.
Sure, we can do that, and we can even talk about that in our budget committee too. So that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that thank you again for that important update. The next item is the resolution accepting donations.
Yes, I will just share my screen here. We had one donation. Actually, it was from one of our board members, Mary LaHaye. We just want to, we have to do this by resolution. So she donated $100 to us back in June, and we want to acknowledge that. So we have to accept that formally from the board.
I'll move approval of it. I like donations. McDonald.
I'll second Schultz.
Moved and seconded. Thank you so much, Mary, for the generous donation. Any other comments? Then we need a roll call.
Ann Norris,
Aye.
Cheryl Weiler, Cheryl,
Sorry, aye.
Kirk McDonald,
Aye.
Riley Grams.
Aye.
Emily Kastner,
Aye.
Marcia Glick,
Aye.
Mark Schultz,
Aye.
Yanni Posner,
Aye.
Joni Clausen,
Aye.
Gerald Sanis,
Aye.
Roberta Reindorf,
Aye.
and Mary LaHaye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Mike, are you doing staff reports?
We are going to do them extremely quickly. I'd like to give each staff member like maybe 1 minute apiece, because then we'll go into the budget meeting. So we'll take it away with Shannon. Can you just do a very quick update on the news?
Yep, I will. I'll touch on two things on this sheet here. One, we are in the middle of an election season, much smaller than last year. We're tracking 4 different races, and we have the possibility of 27 candidates coming through our studios to record candidate statements. And if you haven't been through that process, we allot 30 minutes for every candidate to come in and record a 45-second statement that we post online and send out. So September is very busy because we hope to publish these on October 1st. And then the 2 faces at the bottom of the page, we have 2 new team members who are taking the place of Pafua Yang. If you have seen her show up on WCCO, she's doing a great job over there. We have 2 part-time employees, Nina Bupasavan and Jason Malello. Both of these employees have local ties. Jason lives in Plymouth. Should be a familiar face. He's worked with the news department here since 2007, so it's been pretty seamless to let him come over and shoot a few news stories for us too. Nina Bupasavan, her parents live in Brooklyn Park. She lives in Maple Grove. She's worked in the news business for a while and in production companies as well, and she's doing a great job for us. And just one little win to tell you about on a story that she did recently. She went out to the Brooklyn Park Farmers Market, profiled a vendor there by the name of Reggie Carter. He makes fresh dog treats on a company called Must Be Rough. And a few weeks later, Nina got an email that Hy-Vee saw the story on CCX Media and reached out to carry his product on some of their local store shelves. So I would count that as a win. So that's pretty cool. So I wanted to pass that along. And of course, if anybody has any great story ideas to pass along our way, give me a phone call or shoot me an email.
Thank you, Shannon. And then we'll move on to Tim real quick. Tim Gaffron.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be brief. My report is in the packet, as you see. In most cases, our cities have returned to in-person meetings. We still have one city that extended their local emergency and is meeting completely remotely still. We're working with a couple of cities to upgrade their systems to have a more permanent hybrid setup instead of kind of the stuff that we've been putting together over the last couple of years. Brooklyn Center and New Hope are working with some vendors on doing those things. Maple Grove may be looking at upgrades. They are upgrading their EOC, which is a emergency operations center down below the council chambers. And so they may do something with the council chambers there to upgrade their hybrid system or the whole system. We're not sure yet. Golden Valley, we are just about to go out to bids for the council chambers remodeling there, and hopefully we'll be able to start on that project by December. I think is our goal right now. Likely, there is a lot of issues with supply, especially with equipment that has chips in it. You know, you can barely buy a car right now. AV equipment is kind of farther down the list of priorities for a lot of people. So I think that's all I have for right now. If there are any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Tim. And then quickly, Javier.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, I'll just do a really quick recap. So at the very top, I have people using a podcast room that I converted over, which was one of the biggest edit rooms we had. So I transformed it into a podcast room where people could do their audio productions or just have meetings in there and video productions. Going down, we have a activities report on the programs that were submitted outside and in productions in the building. And we also have genre and topics. Our biggest one was faith-based. So a lot of productions are coming through, submitting and shooting the productions here at CCS Create. At the very bottom, we got Roberta, as you see her here on Zoom. She had various exciting shows with candidates who now is Mayor Lisa Jacobson. So those are very exciting shows. And on the right, Polka's Back. Their first show back was on June. So that was very exciting. Lots of people, lots of dancing. At the lower than that is Now and Now This Happens was a production where this gentleman came in to do a play. So he actually practiced and then shot it. I shot the production here and submitted for film festivals, and we aired it on programming. And at the bottom, sad and unfortunate that we have lost Sue Ellen. She was a member here for a very long time, since I started, I believe, 2012. But we have a little bit of information there. And of course, we have Mike and Sue Ellen there on that photo. So
Thank you, Javier. Appreciate it. And we'll wrap it up with Dave. Dave Kaiser.
Thanks, Mike. Just a quick rundown, the points you see there. We've been working to connect the police and the community through a chat with the chief opportunity. You see Chief Hoyt from New Hope was featured, the chief from Robbinsdale just recently, and also reaching out to other chiefs to see if we can allow more connections between the police and the community as far as communications. Parade season is still upon us here. Plymouth's parade is coming up this Saturday. You see the note there that Robbinsdale threw us the big challenge of a reverse parade where all the units sat parked on the sides of the streets. So we said, we'll walk down the middle of the street with cameras and announce the parade, and it went very well. Note about the Joy Soccer Club out of St. Louis Park. We partnered with them to put on 4 of their games this past year. Great to hear that they have come back. They're very interested in partnering with us for all of their home games next year, plus some potential fall games and winter games that are called futsal that are played in gyms. So more to come on that. Finally, in sports, the Sports Hall of Fame program on the air right now. Lots of neat people from the past here in the area that might recognize in high school. One is Amani Hooker from Park Center. You see him pictured there. He actually plays now for the Tennessee Titans in the NFL. So great to feature some of the athletes in the past. And just a quick note to follow up on the diversity committee, the diversity minutes is a segment that we're producing now in cooperation with Dr. Watts from North Hennepin Community College. If you go to our main home page, you'll see a banner there that says Diversity Minute. I encourage you to click on that and see one of the results that has happened because of that committee. That is it, Mike.
Thank you, Dave. So that concludes our reports, Madam Chair.
Okay, anything else anyone needs to bring forward?
I just have a quick thing I'd like to bring up. I was just really moved with Gianna's and Roberta's statements and the enthusiasm and all their hard work, and their presentation I thought was really moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else. Not sure if I can see everybody at once. Otherwise, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved. Joni.
Second, Norris.
A roll call.
Sorry. Ann Norris.
Aye.
Cheryl Weiler.
Aye.
Kirk McDonald.
Aye.
Bradley Grams.
Aye.
Emily Kastner.
Aye.
Marcia Glick.
Aye.
Mark Schultz.
Aye.
Gianna Posner.
Aye.
Joni Clausen.
Aye.
Daryl Sanis.
Aye.
Roberta has left the meeting, and then Mary LaHaye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. And for those of us that are in the Executive Budget Committee, we need to stay on. Otherwise, nice seeing everybody.
Thank you, everybody. And then, yeah, people within that committee are Ann Norris, Kimberly Sandberg,